Some NFL players retire in glory, walking off into the sunset as champions. Others are sidelined by injuries or age, their final games leaving fans with bittersweet memories. And then, there are those whose last games are unplanned, not knowing that it will be their last dance on the field. These 10 NFL legends have combined for countless records, Pro Bowls, and Super Bowl appearances. Let's relive the final games of these icons and how they bid farewell to the sport that they once dominated. Starting with Eli Manning. He only played 4 games in his final season, but Manning's legacy in New York was already secure. Over his 16-year career, he brought 2 Super Bowls to the franchise, defeating the Patriots both times and earning Super Bowl MVP in both games. Eli Manning also holds the legacy of stopping the undefeated Patriots, which was arguably the best team of all time. But his career ended with one final win for the New York Giants in a lost season in 2019. Manning was already benched in favor of rookie Daniel Jones, but an injury to Jones gave Eli one last moment in the spotlight. In Week 15 against the Dolphins, Manning threw for 283 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions, securing the win in what would be his final game. The crowd at MetLife gave him a standing ovation, chanting his name as he walked off the field, which was an emotional send-off for the 2-time Super Bowl MVP. Peyton Manning's farewell tour couldn't have been scripted any better. Despite struggling throughout the 2015 season with his 9 touchdown to 17 interception ratio, Manning and his defense led the Denver Broncos to Super Bowl 50. In a defensive domination, the Broncos defeated the Carolina Panthers 24-10, with Manning contributing a mediocre 141 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. While his stats didn't shine, the victory cemented his legacy as a 2-time Super Bowl champion. Peyton retired shortly after, leaving the game as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and being one of 2 people to have ended their career with a Super Bowl win. Tom Brady actually had 2 last games. In his first retirement season, he went for 43 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and over 5,000 yards. These are some outlandish stats for someone at the literal end of their career. Tom Brady's career faced a major turning point after the 2019 season. Following a humiliating playoff loss to the Tennessee Titans, many wrote him off, claiming his best days were behind him. Critics argued he only thrived under Bill Belichick's system and couldn't succeed without the legendary coach. But Brady silenced the doubters in dramatic fashion in his very first year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He led this team to a Super Bowl victory, dominating the Kansas City Chiefs and superstar Patrick Mahomes in Super Bowl 55. At 43 years old, Brady proved he didn't need Belichick to solidify his GOAT legacy. His first last game came in the 2021 season's playoffs, where he and the Bucs fell to the Rams 30-27 in a thriller that came down to the wire in the NFC divisional round. Brady finished the game with 329 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Brady announced his retirement shortly after this game, but then came out of retirement for one last run. After a GOAT status of a career that included 7 Super Bowl wins, Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers faced the Dallas Cowboys in the wild card in 2022. Brady threw for 351 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Despite these stats, the Bucs fell 31-14, ending the legendary career of Tom Brady.
I'm retiring. For good.
In his 2020 season, Drew Brees battled injuries and threw for 24 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Brees ended his career as one of the most prolific passers in NFL history, and his final game came in the 2020 divisional round against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brees was shut down this game, throwing 3 interceptions and just 1 touchdown in a 30-20 loss. After the game, an emotional Brees lingered on the field, soaking in the moment with his family, which was a quiet farewell to the Saints' longtime leader. Big Ben's 2021 season was a farewell tour, and while his arm strength wasn't what it was before, he still led the Steelers to the playoffs with 22 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Big Ben's final game was ended by a playoff loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2021 wild card round. Big Ben threw for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns, but the Steelers were no match for Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs' overpowered offense. They lost this game 36-10, but despite the loss, Ben retired as the face of the Steelers for nearly 2 decades with 2 Super Bowl wins to his name. Joe Montana's legendary career ended not in a 49ers jersey, but as a Kansas City Chief. Joe Montana's 1994 season saw him throw for 16 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. In the 1994 wildcard round, Montana faced the Miami Dolphins. Battling injuries, he threw for 314 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception, but the Chiefs fell short, losing 27-17. It was an unceremonious end for the 4-time Super Bowl champion, but his impact on the game was undeniable. Steve Young's final game came in Week 3 of the 1999 season against the Arizona Cardinals. Young suffered a devastating concussion that ended his career. The Hall of Famer had 3 Super Bowl rings, but only started in one of those games. In the game he started, he threw for 325 yards, 6 touchdowns, and no interceptions, a historic performance. Health concerns forced him to hang up his cleats, leaving fans without a proper farewell tour. In his final season, John Elway threw for 22 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Few players leave the NFL as perfectly as John Elway did. After leading the Denver Broncos to back-to-back Super Bowl wins, Elway retired on top in 1998. His final game was Super Bowl 33 against the Atlanta Falcons, where he threw for 336 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception, earning Super Bowl MVP. It was a movie ending for the Hall of Fame quarterback. Brett Favre's 20-year career ended with the Minnesota Vikings in 2010. This season, you just knew the end was near. He went for 11 touchdowns and 19 interceptions this year. His final game was against the Chicago Bears, where he left the game early due to a concussion. Before his injury, he had 63 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Favre's body couldn't keep up with his legendary Iron Man streak of 297 consecutive starts, but his place as one of the game's greatest gunslingers was already set in stone. And finally, Dan Marino's final season ended with a 12 touchdown to 17 interception ratio. His final game ended in a blowout loss. In the 1999 playoffs, his Miami Dolphins faced the Jacksonville Jaguars and were pummeled 62-7. Marino threw for just 95 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions in the worst defeat of his career. It was a heartbreaking finale for one of the greatest quarterbacks to never win a Super Bowl. I know I said 10 quarterbacks, but here's a bonus story. Kurt Warner's football story is one of the most inspiring in NFL history. After going undrafted, Warner spent his time bagging groceries in Iowa while playing in the Arena Football League. His patience finally paid off when he got a chance with the St. Louis Rams. He threw for 41 touchdowns and 13 interceptions in his first year starting, and even brought home a Super Bowl in the process, becoming one of 2 undrafted quarterbacks to ever win a Super Bowl. His second Super Bowl appearance was against the New England Patriots, where he suffered a 20-17 loss while throwing for 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. His third Super Bowl appearance was in 2008, where he suffered a 27-23 loss to the Steelers, where he threw 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. Warner's last game came in the 2009 playoffs, where his Arizona Cardinals lost to the New Orleans Saints 45-14. In this game, he threw 0 touchdowns and 1 interception. Despite these crushing defeats, Warner's legacy was already set in stone. A 2-time MVP, a Super Bowl champion, and one of the greatest Cinderella stories in sports. For every NFL legend, the final game represents the closing of a chapter. Whether they left it on the field as champions or left in a heartbreaking fashion, their legacies remain untouchable. Which one of these farewells impacted you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos on NFL history.